We are live, brother.
Folks, what is up? And welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. You're here with myself, Blake. You're here with my brother, Austin. We are here to talk all things volunteer sports. And Austin, today, I'm just going to be straight up honest with the good folks at home. We are not in a good mood. We are not happy. And I'm just going to be honest. We typically try to be pretty level headed, but I'm probably going to get a little negative in this one, Austin, because I am. It's hard to hold it back. Uh, didn't wake up this morning feeling good.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one because it feels like the season's over. It does. It feels like what we could have accomplished is no longer. You can no longer make the playoffs with three losses. I just don't think that's a realistic possibility. And we're definitely not going to be like the pathetic teams last year that were trying to get into the playoffs with three losses. It's just not worth it to me. It's this team is not good enough to make the postseason, and honestly, dude, this game and a few plays from this game were a perfect summation of the entire season, in my opinion. And we'll get into some of the details in a bit, but that's just the summation of this team is simply inconsistency, shooting ourselves in the foot. The talent's there, but just the consistent performance on both sides of the ball is not. And that showed up again in this game. And unfortunately, this time it was at night in Neyland in front of every recruit for the next 5 years.
Not a good look, brother. Not a good look. And as our title says, it was at night in Neyland, and that's just one of the toughest parts of this to swallow. Is that, man? We had the environment, we had the situation, but didn't get it done, man. And so, folks, here's how today's show is going to go. We are going to go over the game, the loss to the Oklahoma Sooners, dropping that game 27-33 against Oklahoma in Neyland yesterday. So we'll review that, and then we'll just talk briefly about what went wrong. Because as Austin just said, it is 99.9% likely that we will not make the playoffs. And even if we did, obviously, I don't think this team is good enough to get very far unless some insane miracle happens and the team gets, 50, 60% better over the course of the next 3 weeks. So we'll talk about kind of what went wrong in 2025. And again, we're going to be brutally honest. It's just going to be, a lot of times we try to be level headed, and we are pretty level headed when it comes to Vols fans. But folks, you got to know that neither me or Austin wanted to get up this morning because it hurts, and we care maybe a little bit too much. So uh, we're just going to be brutally honest, go over all that. But Austin, we will end on a positive note this episode because we've got basketball and baseball season coming up, baby. And this basketball team is poised for potentially a decent, pretty good season. And the baseball program, obviously, we're looking to continue Tony Vitello's legacy. So we'll have a brief segment on that and looking forward to this season in both basketball and baseball. So, Austin, without further ado, let's just ask the good folks to please subscribe if you haven't already. Please follow on Spotify and please like the video. Even though we don't like the result, please like the video. It really helps us, helps grow the channel. As you all can see, we're approaching 900 subscribers. So, we definitely appreciate the support, even when the football team is not doing how we want them to. And then, of course, jump in the comments and jump in the chat if you're watching the live stream. We would love Lars' performance and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll just start with the first half in general. Was extremely frustrating. But the first half, or it says 19-10. That's not right. It had to be 16-10. Anyways, ESPN screwing me here. I believe it was 16-10 at the half. It was looking like it was gonna. It frankly looked like it was gonna get ugly for Oklahoma. It did. We go down. We score on the first drive. We actually get a stop on defense, which is an absolute miracle. And then we start driving again. We have 5 plays for 55 yards. But the final play was David Sanders not knowing what the play was, so he completely missed an assignment. Aguilar gets sacked almost immediately, and he fumbles, and Oklahoma picks it up for a fumble six, and that's a lot like the Alabama game, Blake. It's a 14-point swing on a single play. And
Yeah.
basically at that point, the momentum shifts, and we continue to shoot ourselves in the foot in the first half. But the frustrating thing about that fumble six, it was so much like out the Alabama play, Blake, because not only are we driving down to score a touchdown, and then we make a mistake that was unforced. David Sanders didn't even get his hand on the guy. Kind of like in the Alabama game, it's kind of unforced because it's just an errant throw. But then we also have a chance to make the tackle. Miles Kitselman gets stiff armed 20 yards down the field, dude. It felt like the stiff arm was going on for half of the way down the field. And Kitselman, for some reason, it seemed like the only guy that was actually trying to get down there and tackle him in the first place. But yeah, it's just a really poor tackle attempt. I mean, we're saying at our little watch party where whatever, Blake, it's like, do whatever, face mask the guy, horse collar him, whatever, take the 15
Better than the
yards.
touchdown.
Exactly, to try to save the touchdown, man. Incredibly frustrating play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head. It's just yet again that unforced error, shooting ourselves in the foot, that is completely game changing. And man, it's like it's tough to win football games and recover when you have that kind of momentum shift.
It is, dude. And I just you have to hear this, man. First drive, we go down 75 yards. Oklahoma's first drive, 14 yards. Our next drive, we have 55 yards in the fumble for a touchdown for Oklahoma. Our next drive, we have 48 yards and settle for a field goal. Max Gilbert actually hit this field goal. The next drive for Oklahoma, they go basically 3-and-out again for only 15 yards, not necessarily 3-and-out, but still. And it's 10-7 at that point. And then we go down 61 yards and miss a field goal. So we're saying literally our first four offensive drives, we close to had 50 plus yards on every drive, Blake. And we came away with 10 points from that. 10 points from those first four drives of the game. And listen, Gilbert missed this kick. And I have to just get into that real quick. Because, dude, I said this at the watch party, and I said this to you before we started the show. I've got Max Gilbert fatigue, man. I do. This kid is inconsistent. He's got one job, Blake. He's got one job. He's lined up at the Oklahoma 19-yard line for a 37-yard kick. A 37-yard kick, and this kid misses, man. At home, there's no crowd noise, right? There's no crowd noise whatsoever. At home, they missed this kick. Incredibly frustrating, Blake. Incredibly frustrating. And it's just yeah, again, Max Gilbert fatigue. I'm sick of his inconsistencies. He cost us the Georgia game. He did. And in all fairness, Blake, I have to say, I believe they missed a penalty on the missed kick, on our missed kick, or maybe it was one of their kicks. I know they missed an offsides on their defensive touchdown. They did. They missed an offsides on the defensive touchdown, which is unfortunate because how offsides works, Blake, that would have been a free play for us. We would have redone the down with 5 extra yards. I'm not crying officials in this game, though. Trust me, I'm not. This team has its chances. At the end of the day, you shouldn't miss your assignment and give up the free rusher for a sack fumble. And you shouldn't be missing 37-yard kicks. You just shouldn't. It's your one and only job, and frankly, it's not that tough of a job. And Blake, we're proving it on College Game Day, right? We literally have kids on College Game Day hitting 50-yard kicks, and Max Gilbert on scholarship in the SEC can't hit a 37-yarder. Give me a break, dude. We have kids on game day barefoot hitting 50, okay? And I'm tired of the excuses for the kid. I am. Max Gilbert fatigue. I'm sick of it.
I'm right there with you, man. First of all, dude looks like he's like 15. I don't know how he's on a football field in the SEC. He looks like he hasn't hit puberty yet. And then the evidence kind of backs that up because he just kind of pees himself anytime he's in a game situation to make a kick. I mean, I guess the pressure's too much. I don't know, man. Like, how do you miss? You're an SEC kicker and you miss a 37-yarder. Meanwhile, Austin, I gotta say this: the Oklahoma kicker was the MVP for them. I mean, the
Oh, it
Oklahoma
was
kicker
ridiculous.
it in Neyland in a hostile environment made 3 50-yard plus field goals. If I'm not mistaken, Austin tied the Neyland record twice with the 55 yarders, the
What a
two
joke.
55 yarders he made. And of course they beat us by 6, and their kicker had what, 9 or 12 points.
Yeah.
I mean, their kicker was their MVP. Meanwhile, our own kicker can't hit a freaking 37 yarder
It
at home.
it's ridiculous, dude. There's no other way to put it. It's ridiculous. And that was it's really the whole game, but in the first half, man, if you just looked at the plays, like if you looked at all the plays and no one told you the score, like they didn't show you any scoring plays, you would think that Tennessee ran through Oklahoma in the first half. You would. You would think they ran through them. Really wouldn't have been close because Tennessee was driving the ball down the field every single drive, finding a way to come away with no points. The next drive, I just went through those other drives, Blake, 60-yard drive that results in no points because your kicker is just it's completely inexcusable. The next drive, we start driving the ball down the field, 44-yard drive that ends up resulting in Joey Aguilar throwing a pick. Aguilar, I guess we can get into his performance now. It wasn't the best game for him. He really became App State Aguilar again, Blake. He became App State Aguilar again. It was a lot of boom, but a lot of bust. That's what it was. And I've talked about how his turnover luck has been unlucky for most of the year. This game it was not. He didn't see the safeties. He didn't realize that safeties could play on the field. But maybe watching his own team was what gave him that, like in practice. He's like, hey, our safeties are nowhere to be found in the Tim Banks defense. But in this game, he had no clue safeties were allowed to play. There was a lot of big plays in there. There's a lot of great throws by him, one of which was dropped later in the game. I'll get into that later. But it's like, yeah, man, he became App State Aguilar again in this game, which is unfortunate.
Extremely unfortunate. And Austin, I wonder if this red zone inefficiency and this just inability to come away with points. We've talked about this off turnovers as well this season. And I don't want to get too much into the conversation we're going to have here in a few minutes about what has gone wrong this season. But I'm wondering, Austin, just in the moment right now, is some of this with Aguilar in general, but then also the offense in general, is some of it we're finally starting to see the effects of the fact that this guy was on campus only 2 months prior
Yeah.
to a month and a half of being able to practice prior to the start of the season. Not to say Aguilar has played bad, but I don't know what practice looks like, but I wonder if we've just not had enough repetitions of these plays within the red zone and within scoring position to be able to come away with points. And maybe it's just a lack of repetitions to be able to score.
I think it's a factor. I definitely think it's a factor. I mean, you have to look into that, and that's more. I think that's a big picture question for the season review when we get done with the season, Blake, and say, okay, what really happened with, like, do an honest assessment of Aguilar's whole season and the circumstances surrounding it. Because I still love Aguilar. I love him as a person, and I think he's a good player. I think without him, like if we had Nico, dude, I'm telling you right now, Vol Talk may have folded if I had to watch Nico this whole season, dude. I'm not kidding. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I would have. Nico on the 2025 Vols would have been, I mean, it could have got Josh Heupel fired. I don't want Heupel fired,
Yeah.
to be clear right now. I do want another coach fired on this team. I do not want Heupel fired, but it could have got him fired. Like, it could have been like a Florida State level collapse, like 2-win season, dude, with this defense
Yeah.
and Nico at quarterback. It would have been a complete and
Yeah.
utter joke. So from that standpoint, it's like, okay, I appreciate Aguilar, but at the end of if I'm being honest about his performances, okay, I love PFF passing grade. Some people don't. I do. I think it's a good indicator of performance. His best performances have come against poor competition. I mean, he has, I wouldn't say struggled in the big games because there's still big plays. But he just hasn't been elite. Like he was elite against Arkansas. He was elite against Kentucky, Blake, but he wasn't elite against Alabama, and he wasn't elite against Oklahoma. Those were his two worst performances. And like This time, the back-breaking play, the fumble 6, wasn't really his fault. I don't really blame that on Aguilar. However, the 2 picks, they definitely cost a lot. I mean, they cost a lot in this football game. Um, so from that standpoint, it's incredibly unfortunate, man. And again, I still appreciate the season he's had, but it's obviously not the magical season we were hoping for, Blake. It's not what it was looking like after. I felt like after the Georgia game, it's like this dude can go in and beat anyone on the opposing defense. Like he's gonna give his guys a chance, and he's gonna put us in position to win every game. That really hasn't played out later in the season. It hasn't. If we're just being fair.
It hasn't, and it's unfortunate. Like you said, we're still Joey Aguilar supporters, and we are still appreciative of what he has done this season. We're still, you hit the nail on the head, and Ryan agrees with us in the chat. Ryan says we would have had 2 wins with Nico
At most.
Yeah, I think you made a perfect analogy with a Florida State level collapse, and it certainly could have cost Josh Heupel's job potentially, or at least someone their job, if we had Nico. So, look, we again level headed. We are trying to be objective here, and the objective truth is we are playing much better than we would have with Nico. The pundits and media need to understand that this season is better because of Joey, not worse.
Yes, that's a great point.
And so they need to understand that the result, we might be hitting the Vegas win total exactly, at 8 or 9 wins, but it's we would have been potentially 6 or 7 wins, if not worse, with Nico.
Yeah, I agree with that, Blake. And you make a great point. And again, that's going to be a fun off-season / season review discussion, because there's going to be a lot of people that are, high-level guys. Like we just cover the Vols. So we cover the storylines very closely. We covered Nico's performance very closely last year, and we've covered Joey's performance this year very closely. What the high-level people don't understand, they're going to say things like, well, they lost their starting quarterback in the spring. Thank God we lost our starting quarterback in the spring, Blake, because had we not, and the Tony V thing happened, and this happened, dude, we'd be in a bad spot. We'd be down here on Vol Talk, man. It would be really, really bad. And the kind of the everything school mantra that we've been, celebrating the last few years, we'd be talking about how it's all crumbling. I mean, we really would, dude. Like, that's how bad this season would have been with Nico under center. I think Joey absolutely elevated the offense. The frustrating thing is, man, and this goes back to how I started the show, Blake, is that, and Joey hasn't been perfect, but that's why this season is very frustrating, because he did elevate the offense. The receivers actually developed to be really good. The offensive line ended up being one of the best position groups out there. We've been able to rush the passer, even though that's kind of fallen off. Honestly, that analysis is getting a little stale because they didn't do as much as they should have in this game. And the defense in general did take a big step back, but overall, this team has a lot of talent. This team absolutely, and if any OU fans join us today, I don't have any hate for OU fans like I do other SEC fan bases, to be completely honest with you, Blake. Congrats to OU. Hope y'all have a great year. But if any of y'all join us, I would be shocked if they disagree. And if you're watching the game from any level of objective perspective, that Tennessee had as much, if not more, talent than Oklahoma yesterday. They did. If you watch the game from an objective viewpoint, and I get it. I have Vol Talk, but I do think as someone who watches and enjoys a lot of football, I have a good eye for these things. I think, Blake, I do, because I was not saying that after the Ohio State game last year. I was not saying that after the Georgia game last year. Like, we clearly weren't as talented as those teams. This year, I don't think that's the case. I think it's a lot of little things, which we'll be trying to diagnose these things, Blake. Like, what really went wrong? Was it the coaching? Was it the player? Like, what was the real issue? I don't know. We'll have to talk through it later. But the the reality is, Blake, that this team had the talent this year, and that's the most frustrating part. They had the talent. They had the talent in this game. They just found a way to continue to shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over. Like I'm telling you, dude. Like if you watch the first half with us, Blake, you would know that this game could have been an absolute blowout. It could have been an absolute blowout for Tennessee's favor. But it's the little details that Heupel continues to preach to the media that are not showing up on field results, man. It's just not.
Yeah, absolutely. You are, speaking to, I think, kind of what is most frustrating about the season. And we are, folks, if you're just joining us, we are going to get into a discussion here in a minute on kind of what went wrong in the 2025 season. But what you're speaking to right now, Austin, is for me the most frustrating part of this season is we have the freaking talent. We have the talent, and yet we just can't get over the hump and can't get the results.
No.
And look, this is, a fine season. So a fine relative to other programs. But at Tennessee, when we have the talent, when we have the history,
and
this is not the result. This is not a fine result.
No.
We should be winning these games. We should be making the field goal against Georgia. We should be beating Oklahoma at home. We should, and really, again, change one play against Alabama, and all of a sudden that game is potentially a different conversation.
It's a lot closer. That's no question about that.
It's a lot closer. So yeah, folks. Well, real quick, I'll say we got a lot of people jumping in the chat. Welcome, Rachel, my wife. Thanks for jumping in, baby. And Lynn, we got Lynn. Yeah, Lynn is down bad. I'm right there with you, Lynn. So we'll see about next year for sure. Vol don't lie. Talking about some things, and Ryan as well, both agreeing that the kind of the season is not how we wanted it to be. And then just Josh and you giving love to Joey Aguilar as well, like we just did. It's just these mistakes add up, Austin, like we're talking about.
They have, man.
And then finally, welcome Daniel Wissington. Probably mispronounced your last name there, but Daniel, welcome to the Vol Talk podcast. So I think this is the first time I've seen you on Vol Talk podcast, but Austin, he makes a great point. Talent means nothing without execution.
It's a fact.
And so that's the bottom line, is that we haven't been able to execute.
Yeah. And yes, exactly. And yeah, it was like the first year in like 15 years or whatever that we had the blue chip percentage over 50, whatever that number was, the blue chip percentage. And again, that's more high level stuff. I'll just finish with stuff in this game so that we can get more high level here, Blake, and with the season. But
sounds good.
So yeah, I agree with the chatter too that said, I forgot who it was, that it could have been 28-10 at half, just Josh and you. Totally agree with that, dude. I mean, it's just a fact. If you watch the game, Tennessee this was Tim Banks' best half of his I'm not going to say his career, because that might be going a little too far, but of the season, there's no question this is the best half this defense has played of the season. Now, that's the only half they've given us all year, but that was the best half. And our offense, to your point before the pod, Blake, is the offense let us down in the first half. They did. They didn't finish drives. They made mistakes, massive mistakes that cost us points. In the second half, dude, it was, once again, we have to make the comeback, right? It was a lot like the Alabama game. It's time to make the comeback. Well, what do? We get an immediate stop, and then we go down and score a touchdown. And this is a good indication, man. When a team does this out of half, to me, it's a good indication of, okay, the true underdog in this game is Oklahoma. They're coming out of the half. They're like, we got this lead. Like, we need to hold on to it. And what immediately happens? They go 3 and out, and then we go down and score. It's like, okay, well, the expected result is about to happen. It's Tennessee's the better football team, and all these crazy wonky things are going to stop happening. Well, Blake, it's the 2025 Vols we're talking about. So, of course, crazy wonky stuff is going to start happening. Somehow, in the 2025 offense, after we force a fumble, right? The defense, it goes back to the 24 days, Blake. bend but don't break. They bend, they force a fumble. We get the ball back. It's 17-16 with the ball. The Tennessee offense has been high powered, Blake. We have a chance to go get a 2-possession lead. 3 plays, 1 yard, 3 straight runs against a defense that we have not been able to run on all day. That's inexcusable, man. And I don't, regular listens to the pod, I don't criticize play calling all that often. I do it at times. This is one of the times you have to criticize it. What are you doing 3 straight runs? Blake, the 3rd and 1, it was 3rd and 1. Okay. We run QB power with Aguilar. Not a very athletic guy, man. Like, at the end of the day, he's not very athletic. We run QB power, not even an option. It was a straight up QB designed run, and it goes for -2 yards, and we punt. And this is when I believe the momentum completely shifts in the game. Oklahoma starts to really pour it on at that point, man. It's just like, what are we doing, Blake? 3 straight run plays, and it just goes 3 and out, and we kick the ball. And it's just like, okay, man. All right, fine. I guess we'll just lose.
Yeah, you're speaking to what a couple people are talking about in the chat here. Like you said, just Josh and you talking about the play calling, and then also Vol Don't Lie saying play calling has been atrocious, and exactly what you're talking about right now, Austin. He's pointing out running the ball 3 times in a row.
Yep.
So yeah, this is the frustrating part where, yes, it's not just on Aguilar's mistakes, although he, made a critical one against Alabama, made a couple picks against Oklahoma, a couple mistakes from your quarterback here and there, a couple missed assignments from your O-line here and there, and some bad play calling here and there from your coaches. And then all of a sudden you've got this recipe where, exactly like you're talking about, we have more talent, and yet we couldn't come away with a win. So we'll use that as a segue to kind of the next topic, Austin. Any other final thoughts on the game?
I'd like to talk about the ending sequence here, Blake. Our comeback attempt at this point, because Oklahoma goes down and scores. We once again go 3 and out the next drive. They get a field goal off like another 55-yard bomb. This kid was just automatic, dude. Just a Hall of Fame level kicking performance. When for the season, by the way, his stats weren't showing that. It just happened in this game, of course, in classic Tennessee fashion. Well, after that, okay, it's 26-17 in the 4th quarter. Now we need a drive. We're down by 2 scores. Well, we do what we did all game, which is we start walking the ball down the field. It's just this offense was really able to move the ball outside of 2 drives the entire game. We go down. We get in a 4th and 1 situation. And then this is where the most frustrating thing happens in the game. And I'm sure the Tennessee fans in the chat will agree. First of all, we get to 4th and 1 after a 13-yard pass on 3rd and 14. We run out the play clock, and Heupel burns a timeout. And remember, and of course it doesn't end up mattering in the end, Blake, but if you go back to the game situation, it was a critical timeout to burn because there's like 8 minutes left, and we're going down to try to score a touchdown, but then we need a field goal on top of that to win the game. So we're going to need another possession. So those timeouts are absolutely critical. And as I was telling you before the pod, it's 4th and 1 in 2025, okay? And what I mean by saying 2025 is, Blake, this is the era of analytics. And obviously, in a situation where you're down 9, you're going to have to go on 4th down. It's an automatic go no matter what. My frustration is, Blake, it's 4th and 1. It's 4th and 1. 4th and 1 in today's age in football is a pretty much go no matter what the situation is, no matter where you're at in the field. How do you not have 3 to 5 plays prepared and ready to go, ready to call when the situation comes up? Why do you need a timeout? Why do you need a timeout in that situation? You should never need a timeout. You should have the call ready. Your players should be ready to go. You put the call in and they go run it without having to burn one. That's frustrating. It's another example of Heupel having bad clock management. He has managed timeouts so poorly this year. And I've heard some fans say how this is a ongoing occurrence from other years. I don't remember it being this bad, Blake. And we covered them all last year. I don't remember coming away from every single game saying, how has Heupel once again screwed up another clock management and end of half, end of game situation? How has he screwed this up again? He does it. Well, then during the play, they finally get to play in after they have their timeout, Blake. They finally get to play in. And Heupel shows the good part of Heupel, right? He schemed it up. He schemed it up. He had a brilliant play call, an absolute brilliant play call. We have a tight end out, and when I say a tight end, Blake, it's because I'm never remembering the kid's name. I will never say this kid's name on the podcast because I'm not going to take the time to remember it. He schemes up a perfectly open tight end out of the backfield. Aguilar puts it on him in his chest, and it bounces off the dude. The dude wasn't ready for the ball. How are you not ready for the ball? The play is designed for you. You are the design. The play is schemed up for you to catch the ball. So how are you not ready to catch the ball when you are on scholarship at the University of Tennessee in the SEC on a 4th and 1 situation? Dark mode, Neyland at night. You're not prepared to make one of your biggest opportunities of the year. You're not prepared. You can't play here, dude. I'm sorry, you cannot play here. And I'm sure he's a good kid. I'm sure he's a good kid, Blake, with a good family, and I'm sure he's a hard worker. But you can't play here, dude. You're not made up of the right stuff if you're dropping that opportunity in that position of the game. Because you go down and score a touchdown there, Blake, it's a 2-point ball game with probably around 7 minutes left. That's a game, okay? You're in the game at that point. The game is not over. But the kid wasn't even prepared for the football to hit him, and it just bounces right off of him, man. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable, and it's once again another example, Blake, of this team dropping a pass. And drops, drops happen. But this team in particular, the 2025 Vols, their drops have changed the season. It's not just like, oh, it's just a drop here and there. It's like it's the most consequential drops ever, Blake.
Spoiler alert, that's going to be a very big talking point when we transition to what's gone wrong so far in 2025. So again, folks, if you're just joining us, we're going to be talking about what has gone wrong in 2025. We are going to end on some positives, talking about the basketball and the baseball seasons coming up. So folks, please stick around for that, and also like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'd appreciate the support. And we'd especially appreciate the support because my brother is spitting facts here about this freaking tight end. How can you not? Well, really, Austin, the receivers in general. How can it's like a kicker, Austin? It's like Max Gilbert. Your job is to kick the football and put it through the uprights. A receiver's job is to catch the football. That's your job. That's the baseline job, right? Like that's like, it's like being a mailman and saying, oh yeah, a mailman's got to be able to drive a mail truck, and a mailman's got to be able to know the route, and a mailman's got to be able to avoid rabid dogs and all of this. But at the end of the day, if your mailman's not putting mail in the mailbox, he's not a mailman.
That's his one job. It's to put the mail in the mailbox. I don't expect my mailman to walk my dog. I don't expect him to do that because he's my mailman. Just put the mail in the box. That's Max Gill. I just want to kick through the uprights. I don't expect you to throw the game-winning touchdown. I just want to kick through the uprights. That's all I'm asking for because you're a kicker.
Hey, tight end.
That's not a lot to ask.
Need you to catch the ball when the ball hits you in the chest.
Now,
that's all I need.
The tight end has more jobs than the kicker, but a critical part of his job, Blake, is kicking the ball or catching the ball. That's a critical part of his job. He's got to catch the football. So, and here's the thing, dude, and I don't know how many fans actually said this, and I'm not. Had a great time at my buddies last night. We had a lot of guys there. I had an interesting take from someone after that play that I just vehemently disagree with. We have to allocate blame to the right people in the right situations. The blame in this situation is on the tight end. It just is. It's not on Heupel. Heupel dialed it up. And I had someone say, and maybe other Vols fans are saying this, why would you throw it to a backup tight end in that situation? What you have to understand about that is, for one, the kid's on scholarship to play tight end. So he should be able to catch the football. That should be an expectation for that kid to have, which is catch the ball. That's all it is. It's catch the football. But number two, Blake, which is more importantly, which is the nuance I think in this conversation, is the reason the guy's so open, Blake, is because it's a tendency breaker. You can't throw Ethan Davis on that route because Oklahoma expects Ethan Davis to be on that route. They game plan around Ethan Davis. They game plan around Miles Kitselman. They game plan around the tight ends that get the ball regularly. They don't game plan around this kid. That was the brilliance of the play call. And you're putting your trust in that kid in that moment. Okay, go out because you're probably not going to be defended very well on this play. Go out and do one job. Just run one little route for 1 yard and catch the football. And the kid couldn't do it. So, in my opinion, despite the kid, this is the same kid I talked about after early in the year, Blake. This kid looks like a future NFL player, but you cannot play here. You go be a future NFL player somewhere else. This was your moment. This could have led to a comeback to get our chat and all of All Nation happy about the rest of the season instead of all feeling like, what's the point of the rest of the year? We don't even want to talk about the New Mexico State game. You think I give a rat's ass about New Mexico State at this day and age? At this point in the year, I don't want to talk about it at all. Nobody does. Nobody even wants to watch the game. But this kid could have prevented that. You could have caught the ball and you could have went down and scored a touchdown, and we could have stayed in this football game and created this comeback that shouldn't even happen in the first place because you completely crapped the bed all of the first half leading into the second half. It's incredibly frustrating. And listen, I try to be on, like you said, Blake, before the show, we try to be level headed and be honest and how, oh, they're kids, whatever. And they're, whatever. We try to be honest and fair with the players and the coaches and their performances. In my opinion, when you make such a critical mistake in one of the first opportunities that you get as a player in such a critical moment, I, as a fan, and if I were a coach, Blake, I would see that and just say, this guy is not made up of the right stuff, what it takes to win, because we trusted him in this very critical moment of the season, and he let us down. It's like, well, then I can't trust you on a 2nd and 8 against Kentucky because you did that. Like, why? I can't trust you in a big moment. You say you're a competitor. You say you want to play in the SEC. You say you want to be the best, but you dropped the ball on 4th and 1 in Oklahoma in dark mode in front of every recruit for the next 10 years, dude. Like, we can't trust you anymore, dude. We just can't.
Trust is gone, and the fact of the matter is you let the team down. And again, we have look, if you're just joining us, go back and watch the first 40 minutes of this podcast. We have been talking about all of the other mistakes leading up to this, right? But to your point, Austin, man, if you get a scholarship, by the way, these I am gonna sound like a boomer right now, okay, but these quote unquote kids are getting paid now, okay? They're getting paid grown man money to play grown man of football now, right? So all the, and like you said, we are fairly objective and level headed, but look, you're getting paid now, man. You're open to criticism, and the criticism is this was the biggest moment and you crapped the bed. And so
Completely.
you're gonna have to lay in that. And so Austin, yeah. So we missed that 4th and 1, and then the rest of the game from there was just we just couldn't get it done and couldn't get the comeback done.
Yeah,
and the final moment.
And yeah, I'll talk about last two things. At this point in time, the comeback was pretty much impossible, but Staley dropped Aguilar's best throw of the night for a touchdown. And Staley was awesome, and Staley has been awesome, and Staley's going to be on this team next year. So I don't want to tear into him too much, but that was a critical drop. That, we still would have needed an onside, but at least would have given you an opportunity. And then the last thing I'll talk about is we had a chance as well, down 26 24, and they got the ball back at the 2-minute warning. And we needed a defensive stop, right? Like Tim Banks, you're paid a lot of money. Go get us a stop, Tim. Uh, First play should have been a walk-in touchdown, Blake, but the guy fell over at the one. I just I can't, and this is kind of where I'm like, I'm kind of sick of Tim, like the Tim Banks thing. It feels like, and we've had this discussion last week, Blake, but it kind of feels like it's over, right? It has to be, right? Like the lowest you've given up in SEC play this year is 31. That feels like you just can't keep your job at that point. And it's a critical moment where it's like, despite all the mistakes, Blake, despite everything we've talked about, you still have a chance. You
Still,
have a chance still, despite everything we talked about. And you can't get us a single stop. You can't get us one. And it's just been the story of the season, man. It's like, oh man, despite all the things that we did in the Georgia game, like all the conservative play callings and whatever, blah blah blah, you still have a chance to hit the game-winning kick and you miss it. It's just been the story of this year, dude. It's been the story of this team.
and again, that is what has frustrated us most this season is the fact that we could win, we have the talent to win, and we haven't been. We've been finding ways to lose. So Austin, if you're good, without further ado, we'll talk about the high level stuff, right? 'Cause
Yep.
I think that's a perfect segue to, again, the theme of this season, which is exactly what we're talking about. So we talked a little bit earlier about the difficulties with Joey Aguilar and the quarterback situation, and again the fact that, look, he has made us better. Okay, don't get it twisted. We This could have been a catastrophic season if you've got
Catastrophic.
Nico uh freaking throwing pick sixes and running out of bounds on fourth down and so on and so forth, right? And Vol Don't Lie is making a great point. Our new nickname is Almost, right? We're right
Yep.
there. And so I think that there's a lot of different themes: the drops, the defense. Uh, Talk us through, Austin, kind of your high level thoughts on what has gone wrong so far in this 2025 season. And ultimately, let's be clear, folks. There's like a less than 1% chance that we get in the playoffs at this point, and even if we did, we wouldn't make it past the first round in all likelihood. And so we're going to get to, at the end of this segment, we're going to get to what we're playing for the rest of the season. To a Chatter's point earlier, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Ben Sherman. We definitely got to play for pride, and we definitely got to beat Florida in the swamp. Okay, you have to do that. Okay, you can't give up this season,
Yeah.
Austin. But the point is that we're talking about what went wrong, because at this point we are not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to make the playoffs. I think it's 0% if I had to put a percentage on it. But I agree with you, Blake. The rest of the season is critical. Like, this team is still very young, right? And it's got a lot of talent. A lot of these guys will be back, and you want to. And I think we're all. I haven't seen anyone calling for Heupel's job. I think that would be ridiculous. So like we want things to go well the rest of the year, or else conversations could get ugly, despite the playoffs. Although it does feel like most of us are checked out because there is no playoffs. And why did that happen, right? Because, like, if you go back to what we were saying preseason, right? We had a lot of questions about the offense, right? That was one of our big questions. And our biggest question about the defense, Blake, was, can you replace the pass rush of James Pierce and Omar Norman Lott? At least that was my biggest question about the defense. Um, and the frustrating thing is, Blake, is that the questions at receiver, the O line, the defensive line, they were all answered, and they probably all exceeded our expectations. If you're just being honest, it's like, wow, the receivers have looked really good this year, and the pass rush for the most part has been pretty good. And then the offensive line, especially in pass pro, has been fantastic all season long. And then Aguilar elevated the offense and so it's like, you tell me all that, and you're telling me we're 6-3. Oh, what happened? What went wrong? A couple of things. You have to start with the defense and the defensive coordinator. The defense individually has talent. They do, but as a unit, they suck. They are unacceptably bad this year. And it's been more bad than good with Tim Banks. And I listened midway through the year, the rumbling started to happen with the fan base, and I was saying, "Oh, stability is really important," and I still stand by that. But stability doesn't matter if you suck. Like if you suck on defense. You do, and especially when you've been given talent. You can't keep crying about scholarship limits and blah blah blah. The lack of depth, all that goes out the window. We alluded to this earlier, but we had over a 50% blue chip percentage, and that's like the magic cutoff or whatever for potential national championship teams. We were like one of only, I believe, 12 to 15 teams or whatever in college football that is the case for. I think it's closer to 12 than it is 15. So it's not many teams in college football that can say that, Blake, that can say that they have that sort of blue chip percentage. So the talent is not an excuse, right? There's Jermon
Right.
McCoy's injury or whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, you got the talent. You've got the individuals, but have you put them in position to win? Have you put them in position to actually make a play? And I think on a consistent basis, Tim Banks has not done so, Blake, on a consistent basis.
Yeah, well, and you're talking about the blue chip ratio, which is absolutely right. We don't have the excuse of the talent, and the injuries are, yes, the injuries have hurt us in a big way, especially on defense, especially in the secondary. But Austin, to the point about the blue chip ratio is about a kid's rating coming out of high school. And guess what? Jermon McCoy, if I'm not mistaken, was a 3-star, was he not?
Yes. So he's not
And he
even
was a
included
transfer.
in that.
So he's not even included in that. And so to your point, it is, yes, we have lost talent from last year. We've lost production from last year. We have injuries, but it just, what's been a consistent theme, exactly like you said, it just seems like Banks is getting out schemed in a lot of situations. And when we are looking to turn the corner and find that situation where we have an offense that is playing good again, despite mistakes that are shooting ourselves in the foot. You need a defense to just meet us halfway and not be in near dead last in some categories, Austin. That's the crazy thing
Yeah.
is, we were first in the SEC and like sacks and for a while and like a lot of the different things, but then also like in other things we're like near
Like dead
last in
last.
FBS.
Yes. Literally, dude. I mean, that's how bad it's been. It's like, and how are you like sixth in sacks coming into the week, but like 106th in yards allowed in points, like, or 120th and stuff. Like, those things shouldn't add up. Like sacks should kill drives. But you know what's happened this year? It's not an exaggeration when we say this. We have gotten teams in third and long, and this is like the nitty-gritty defensive conversation. We've gotten teams in third and long consistently because of the sacks, because of the TFLs, but then we give up third and 15, third and 16,
Yep.
third and 13. How many? I mean, we gave up one in this game, Blake, third and 14. We, in a critical situation, we let John Mateer run for like 16 yards. You just can't do it. You cannot do it, man. You got to have a spy. You got to have somebody. And again, it's like, I get it. It's a multi-level conversation. That's why we're talking about the multi-level things. But it's like you got to put the player in position to win. That's the first job. It's the first job of the football team. It's the coach putting a player in the position to win. And you can't tell me with a bunch of talented individuals, a lot of which are in first round mock drafts, Blake. You cannot tell me that the coach has nothing to do with them not being successful. You just can't. That just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up when I see 3 or 4 defenders in the first round mock, and I'm like, but we're giving up 30 plus a game, huh?
What?
Like what?
But
How does that
make that
happen?
make sense. What you got to show me your work on that math problem, brother, because I can't. That's some algebra that I just can't understand. That's some voodoo algebra right there. How are you going to have that kind of talent and then not be able to, have better results? It's just, and you, oh gosh, everyone in the chat, Ryan, everyone is agreeing about the freaking, like, are you kidding me? This third down,
It's
you got to get off the field on third
ridiculous.
down. And here's my thoughts, Austin, when it comes to this conversation is our defense was so good last year. Tim Banks had a great season last year, but man, something has got we look, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We don't want to get into a Mark Richt Georgia situation where we're just happy with 9 to 10 wins a season.
Yeah, that's
That's great.
mhm.
Okay, cool. I'm glad to be winning 10 games instead of 7 or 8 like we were. But guess what? Championships.
And
And you've
yeah.
got to learn. And someone made a point earlier. Seems like this team and these coaches are not learning from their mistakes. Man, we got to change something. You got to change something so that we can turn the corner and start competing for championships.
Blake, you have unlocked a conversation now that might take us another 30 minutes because I am so sick of hearing. Let me talk to the pundits, okay? The pundits that get paid millions to do this, where we're taking time out of our free time. We get paid $0 to do this. Let me
0.
educate you all, okay? Because you can't on one hand keep telling Tennessee fans, well, look at what you were before Josh Heupel. Look at the years of dysfunction. And on the other hand, tell me how great Kurt Signetti and Indiana are, and how great of a story that is, and
Yep.
how NIL has changed football. Those two things can't exist. Okay, Tennessee is a historic blue blood, so the ingredients are already in place. The ingredients, the location, the funding, everything's in place already. Okay, and you have the added factor of, well, now you can lessen the gap with maybe the Alabamas and the Ohio States of the world, because look at what Indiana's doing with NIL and hitting the portal, and what great coaching can change a program immediately. Dude, they're about to go undefeated this season in Kurt Signetti's second year, in his first year at Indiana, Blake. We're talking about a
Indiana.
dead football program. He took them to the playoffs year freaking one, dude. Are you joking me? And if it's year two, I don't care. It's literally, because I forgot, is the first year last year? It doesn't matter. He immediately turned around Indiana as a program. So on one
Yeah.
hand, the pundits, the Josh Pates of the world, are saying, and I have a lot of respect for Pate, are saying, well, look at what Tennessee was before Heupel, and look what he's delivered you to now. But also tell me how NIL in the current state of college football has opened up a landscape for a team like Indiana and a legendary. Listen, dude, this is the difference in coaching, man. And I like Heupel, and I think he's a tier 2 coach, but Kirk Snetti is a tier 1 coach. He's a guy that completely changes a program, and you can tell immediately that's a guy. You look at Dan Lanning, that's a guy. That's a guy that's going to completely change a program overnight, no matter what the circumstances are. Because you can tell me about all the scholarship limits and all the limitations Tennessee had. It doesn't compare to Indiana and what Kurt Signetti had to dig out of the dumpster, dude. Nobody was coming to those games. It was a complete ghost town. And with a harder schedule this year, Blake, he has absolutely dominated, are running through teams. It's not even close, man. It's not even close. And it's the intangibles. And this is what gets back to the Vols. I don't think Heupel is bringing the intangibles to coaching. I don't think he's able to motivate the team when it's hard to motivate them. Okay? Kurt Signetti in press conferences are sitting there, when they're in press conferences, Blake, and he learned this from Saban, they're talking to their players. They don't give a rat's ass about talking to the media, Blake. They don't care. They literally couldn't care less about talking to the media. When they're in a press conference, their goal is to preach to their players. Okay? And what has Signetti said during this BS Big Ten schedule every week? He's telling me how great UCLA is. They're a 3-0 team, and how great that football team is. And Maryland, oh man, Maryland is a tough opponent. This opponent, we cannot sleep on Maryland. And he doesn't care about saying that to the media. He's saying, hey, players, listen to me right now on a public stage. You cannot sleep on these teams. You have to learn to win as a favorite because that's when it gets tough. You're going to be motivated against Oregon, Blake. Everyone's going to be motivated against Oregon. You're going to be more motivated at Oregon. You're not going to be motivated against a crappy UCLA team at home. You're not. It's UCLA.
Yep.
Nobody takes that program seriously. But what does he do? He motivates his players through the media, and they hear that and they take it and they go whip UCLA by 60 something. That's the difference, man. That is the difference. Because if you compare Tennessee's talent level to Mississippi State's, it's night and freaking day. Yet what happened in that game, Blake? It was an overtime thriller because Heupel isn't bringing these intangibles to the table, in my opinion, right now. That's motivating his teams in games that it's hard to get motivated for.
And again, to be clear, we're not saying right now that it's time to make a change with Heupel. What we're saying is that, like the chat talked about earlier, and like we're talking about right now, you have to make a change. You have to get better. Just like good teams get better, great teams get better.
Yeah.
A coach has to get better, and otherwise you're going to get left in the dust. And you're absolutely right, Austin, about the intangibles with Heupel. We need it to be there, man. We need it to be there because Ryan said it in the chat earlier. I said it earlier. We're not happy with 10 wins. We want championships because this is Tennessee. Let me educate the younger folks, okay? Football existed prior to 2015, okay? Football existed prior to 2010, 2020. Name the year, okay? Football existed prior to that. And prior to that, Tennessee was, as you said, Austin, a blue blood program, top winningest program. And so I'm so glad you railed on the media and you look, folks, if that doesn't deserve a like on this video, if that doesn't deserve a subscription on this channel, I don't know what does. Okay, give us a subscribe for my brother's perfect rant. Okay, but I'm gonna add to it, Austin, because the media wanted to say when we were going through the dark years as Vols fans, as a Vol program, no one wants this job. This is a tough job. This is are you kidding me? Austin, to your point about Indiana, stadium being empty, whatever, and then all of a sudden they come roaring. All of a sudden the fans are suddenly back when they start winning, right? And when you look at these other programs, all of a sudden these fan bases start wearing their shirts again once they start winning. Austin, Tennessee fans, look, my wife is from Western North Carolina. Okay, I'm going to talk about her. She when she started, excuse me, I'm killing my voice because so my wife is from Western North Carolina. When she came over here, she was like, man, everyone has these Tennessee flags up. I've never seen anything like this. She's like, this is crazy. I see Tennessee flags everywhere. Austin, people wore big orange 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013.
Through the dark ages, man.
We didn't stop wearing the big orange. Okay.
Yep.
We didn't stop wearing the power tee. And this university didn't stop having resources and all of the intangibles about a football program during those years. Okay. So don't tell me that it isn't a dream job for any given football coach. This program and tennis, there is nothing like it in college sports, Austin. All these other programs have their traditions. All these other programs, have history and all this. Yes. But dude, we have the history and we have Tennessee fans are crazy, brother. Okay.
Yes.
We are crazy passionate.
The most passionate in the country, Blake.
There is nothing else like the passion of Rocky Top, brother. Okay.
Nothing.
And so yeah, you got the whole point in saying all this is that it's not, we don't need to just sit here and be good little Vols fans and be happy with 10 wins.
Nope.
Look at where you were. No, what we were was winning national championships and having the greatest of all time quarterback, defensive lineman and Reggie White, safety and Eric Berry, quarterback being Peyton Manning. Are you kidding me, Austin? We this Tennessee program is no national championships, SEC championships,
Are the
the
goal.
whole nine.
Are the
That's the
goal.
goal.
Every year, that should be the goal. And we shouldn't beat around the bush and be ashamed to say that. Like, what?
Correct.
Are you kidding me? I mean, we keep bringing up the Mark Richt situation. Let's tell the ending of the Mark Richt situation because, and I have to give credit to a guy I absolutely hate. His name is Kirby Smart. But let's talk about the ending of that situation, Blake. And again, this is not a fire hypo session. We're just talking through it. We're just emotional Vols fans. But you fire Mark Richt, and now you have 2 national championships in the last 5 years
Exactly.
because of it.
Exactly.
I mean, that can be the ending. Now, in fairness, the ending can also be what Penn State's about to go through. They're about to fire James Franklin, and it's about to get ugly in Happy Valley, in my opinion. It's about to get ugly. After firing, and I have to, because you're responding to Rhonda here in the chat. She said something brilliant. She said, "We're good, but we're not elite." And the scary thing is, Blake, is that you could apply that high level to this football program. You could apply it high level, man. You could say it's a good football program under Josh Heupel, but it's not been an elite program under Josh Heupel. And that's listen, as a guy who wants Heupel to be elite, I want Heupel to be a tier 1 coach. I think he's a brilliant play caller. And I think he did a brilliant job evolving his scheme in the offseason. But Blake, it feels like everything else outside of scheme and recruiting, okay, and those things are incredibly important. He's gotten better at recruiting and he's evolved his scheme, both of which have paid off massively this past year. But the issue, in my opinion, is everything else. It hasn't stayed the same, Blake. It hasn't been stagnant. It's gotten worse. Game management, clock management, it's gotten worse. 4th down decision making, it's gotten worse. Just general, just game flow situations and, play calls. And I say he's a schematic genius and things, but it's play calls in certain moments where it's mostly, which is probably what I'm trying to get at here, being conservative in certain moments with leads that have cost us. That cost us the Georgia game, man. The problem with this 2025 Vols team, and the reason we're all so down in the chat, Blake, there's no marquee wins this year. There's no fun win against a rival. There's nothing. We're not going to celebrate wins against Kentucky. We don't celebrate expected accomplishments here on Vol Talk. We do not do that. We're not going to celebrate those wins. I'm not happy about that win because I expect that win. I expect it every single year. And I expect it by multiple scores every single season. But we would have celebrated a Georgia win. We hadn't beat Georgia in 8 years, but we got screwed out of that win as a fan base that year because of a kicker and because of a coach getting conservative when he should not have got conservative. He should have kept the pedal to the metal and should have not run 3 times in a row down 5 after you get a strip sack turnover just to go up by 8. That was on Heupel. That was on Heupel. You never even put our idiot kicker in a bad situation, in a tough spot, if Heupel goes and be aggressive there. That's why, Blake, and if we get into like a resolve, like how do we resolve these things, part of this segment, to me, it's something we've talked about off camera. It's something we've talked about on camera, Blake, is that Heupel is trying to do everything. He's recruiting, right? We don't have a GM, Blake. The University of Tennessee does not have a GM. A lot of schools are getting GMs, okay? That's a factor. He's calling plays. He's having to manage the game. He's having to make 4th down decisions. He's having to manage the clock and call timeouts. Heupel cannot do everything. He can't. He either needs to trust a coordinator to call the plays, or he needs to have an analytics guy, and a lot of old school guys don't like analytics, blah, blah, blah. But listen, they have the numbers. They go through, like, that is their job. 4th down decision making, clock management, timeouts, game flow situations. And that person should be telling Heupel, this is what you do. This is what you should do. Marcus Freeman has that. Marcus Freeman just won or went to a national championship, Blake, by the way, to a team. Notre Dame was criticized. You just got rid of the great Brian Kelly, and you're hiring this unknown coach and Marcus Freeman, and he immediately takes you to a national championship, and then immediately the culture and everything just is immediately better. like he doesn't call plays. He doesn't call plays. He
Yeah.
also has an analytics guy in his ear, formerly of PFF, in his ear on fourth down decision making. Because guess what Marcus Freeman's worried about, Blake? He's worried about being a CEO of a program, of one of the most
The
storied
big picture.
programs. The big picture, man. He's worried about being a CEO of a program, of one of the most storied programs in college football, right? That's what Marcus Freeman's concerned about. And he's completely changed the culture of Notre Dame. And he's a fantastic football coach, man. A fantastic football coach. So I think Heupel would immediately get better as a football coach if he just took some of this off his plate. And he would be able to
Yes.
focus on the game management, or he would just be able to focus on the play calling. One or the other, man. Focus on one or the other.
Absolutely. You have to get better as a coach, and in order to do that for Heupel, you've got to let one of them go. You have to, because it's just impossible for the human brain to process all that. Austin, it is. Look, Heupel's a smart guy. He was a quarterback at Oklahoma. If we got any Oklahoma fans in the chat, Oklahoma fans love Heupel, because he won a national championship for him at Oklahoma as the quarterback. He's a smart guy. He's not a dang genius. Okay. He's not the Bobby Fischer of freaking American football, where he just has this beautiful mind and he can move all these pieces perfectly into place immediately. It's a lot of pressure, brother. I was telling you before we got on the pod. I freaking in college I coached powder puff football a couple times, and I could barely keep up with the daggum game of powder puff touch football or flag football in college with intramurals. Okay,
Not
this
even
is this is
comparable to the
actual
SEC.
not like this is SEC, NCAA, FBS, Division One college football. The human brain can't process all that. So Heupel
No.
needs to get. I mean, in Austin, look at Alex, down at freaking South Florida, and how good we were when he was calling our plays.
Yeah.
And so Heupel needs some people around him that he trusts. I mean, look at Saban. Saban was great, and Saban had people around him that he trusted.
Yes.
Because a head coach can't do everything. You have to
Blake.
be the leader, not in the weeds on everything.
Blake, Saban's best years were with his best coordinators. That was his best years. Because, and I have a couple things to say about Sam's chat, basically talking about how the reason Kirby won is because talent and all the talent he accumulated. You are right about that. But even in Saban's best years, it was talent plus coaching. It was talent plus good offensive coordinator, good defensive coordinator, and that led to his championships. Now, to the other point I wanted to bring up on Sam's topic, which is, and that goes back to Rhonda's chat, which is Heupel's been good at bringing in talent, but not elite. It's not been elite. Now it's getting better. Okay, our recruiting classes are getting better, and we have a lot of recruiting momentum. And I don't want that to die, because I think it's just going to continue to go on. Now it doesn't help that we're going to have a crap season. It looks like, Blake. But that's been. How is Heupel going to get better? Like, how is he going to elevate and get into that elite tier? Because you could argue, okay, maybe he's an elite tier play caller. Maybe he is. Now, he's not always, because I think he's managing all these other things, but we need him to be elite in something. We need him to be elite in something. And I think the only way he does that is if he gets some of this off his plate, because he can't manage it all, in my opinion. And Blake, if it were going well, like if things were going well, if we didn't have clock management issues, like objective clock management issues, then it's fine. Business as usual. But when things are not going well, we have to adapt. We have to change. And Heupel did this in the offseason, Blake. And this is where I give him credit. He evolved his scheme in the offseason, and it got a lot better. He added wrinkles. It wasn't the same old, same old. He added more play action. He added these things in the offseason, and the offense elevated this year. It's elevated for the most part, especially moving the ball. Like, we can actually move the ball again. Under Nico, we could not. So give Heupel credit for that. But we have to adapt and evolve in other areas of football, because it's not just scheme, man. And I think that might be what keeps Heupel from becoming elite, Blake, is that he's so focused on the scheme. He's so focused on the X's and O's, and it's a nameless, faceless opponent that we, whatever. It's just business or what. It's like, that doesn't work in the sport of college football. It doesn't work. It's just some guys need a little extra, right? Despite like they're super talented, they know the scheme, they know what they're supposed to do, but they need a little extra on top. And I've said this
Yep.
for a long time, Blake. The best CEOs, the best coaches in college football are all motivators. They all are motivators. Nick Saban, motivator. Kirby Smart, motivator. Dan Lanning, motivator. Marcus Freeman, motivator. Like, name a great Urban Meyer, motivator. He was a piece of crap. He was not a good guy. But he was a motivator, Blake. That's what he did. That's why he worked on the college level and didn't on the NFL level. Because NFL guys, it's not the same in the league. Everyone's great. Everyone's great in the NFL, Blake,
Right.
and you can't treat an NFL player like you treat a college player. But in college, it's needed. It's necessary. It's necessary to get to the next level, man. It is. And it feels like to me right now, that's a missing ingredient. That's a missing ingredient in my opinion. And I don't know how it's gonna fix other than Heupel taking some of this. Like, okay, I'm gonna call the plays, you tell me the clock management stuff, and you're gonna be the
Yeah.
motivator. He can't do it all.
He can't. He has to. Again, folks, if you're just joining us, please hear it. And some folks are talking in the chat. Sam talking about, hey, if we had some better talent, we're probably undefeated, 3 to 4 plays away from being, 8-1 or whatever. All of that's true, but part of this is the game management and the coaching. And so we're not saying right now, we're not saying we need to make a change. Not saying that. However, I am saying that Josh Heupel needs to make a change. We are saying that Josh Heupel needs to find ways to improve. That's part of it. Yes, college football is that's why I love college football, Austin, because it's there's so much about wait, hold on, did I lose you? Are you still
No,
there?
you're here. You're here.
Okay, perfect. You were so still, brother. I thought I'd lost you. Um, but that this is why I love college football, Austin, because there are so many different factors in college football. NFL, and I know you're an NFL fan, pure football fan. I'm a fan of football. I love watching football. I love watching NFL. But college football, there's just so much more to it. There's the recruiting, there's the pageantry, there's the tradition, and exactly like you just said, Austin, there has to be motivation there because it is a different game. It's a different game. It's a different level of football. And you need motivation. You need those intangibles. And so I need Josh Heupel to figure out a way to bring that.
I agree, dude. I mean, you have to. I think and who like I don't know if that is the main reason this season has gone to crap or whatever. It's all these little things, man. It's these little mistakes
Little
that
mistakes.
have added up in these games that and again, it's the most frustrating part of this season, Blake, is A, we've had the talent to win, and B, it's been unforced in a lot of situations. In a lot of situations, it's been unforced errors, missed kicks, dropped passes to interceptions. It's been missed assignments on defense or just simply penalties, things like that. It's just clock management situations. It's been so many dropped passes. It's been so many things that are unforced that have cost us these games. These margins are super thin. And the crazy thing is, if you look at the Georgia game and you look at the Oklahoma game, which is our two losses that I believe should have been wins this year. The Alabama game could have been closer without the pick six, but those are the two losses that could have and should have been wins this year in Neyland Stadium. Like those games, how many unforced errors did we talk about? Yet we still had opportunities at the end of the game to win. So if you just take away
Right.
2 or 3 of the things we mentioned, it's like then you win the game comfortably. It's not even like oh, we have to squeak this one out. We win comfortably. But that's not been the case, man, because it's the theme of this team. This team is good, but not elite because it's in the details and the details are missing.
Well, and Austin, that's true of our wins too. You look at these
Yes,
close wins against Arkansas,
correct.
Mississippi State. We should have won those games comfortably, but we were sweating them because of, again, these mistakes. And that goes back to Sam's point about, a few different plays being away from 8-1, and
Yes.
that's true. But that to me, that doesn't make me feel more comfortable or easier about it, or better about it. It makes me feel kind of worse because it's like, hey,
Yes.
you you need to clean up these mistakes and these little details, exactly like you're talking about. So really, for me, Austin, I think the proof is in the pudding, and specifically proof in the details of this season. It's the devil is in the details, so to speak, for this season. It's just been those little mistakes, man, those little details that have decided, hey, we're sweating out a win against Arkansas, or we're barely losing to Oklahoma and Georgia when you absolutely should have and could have won.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. It's unfortunate. And I'll be honest, Vol Talk listeners and Vol fans everywhere, I'm checked out. I'm checked out kind of like you all are on this season. I think the last thing that matters as far as football this year is beating Florida in the swamp. Like you can still get that monkey off your back this year. Um, and dude, these conversations will be amplified based on the performance of the next few games
Yes.
because it's a
Yes.
culture. This is how you can rot a culture. And the culture right now, in my opinion, is fine. I don't think it's a culture issue, but it can rot a locker room when you give up on a season because you don't meet your goals or whatever. Like these next three games are critical. They are critical. They're not critical for making the playoffs because we're a good team, not an elite one, but they are critical for the future of this program because we're talking about guys hitting the portal, retaining a talent on the roster, and for us to believe in our coach. We got to believe in our
Yeah.
coach. And we will probably be favored in the last three football games of the year, and we should win the last three football games of the year, Blake.
Yes.
And so it's gonna be critical, despite us all being kind of checked out because of the playoff air.
Yeah. We want, that's the point. We want to win championships. Austin and I are very passionate about volunteer football. Okay. And so when we're not in a position to win a championship, I am pretty depressed, and it's hard to be checked in to a situation where we're not going to win, because man, I want to win so bad and I hate losing, dude. But to your point, I don't care if we had dropped three more games this season. You need to go down to the swamp and beat Florida, okay? And we had some chatters talking about this earlier. You need to go into the swamp and you need to beat Florida. Florida is bad this year,
Yep.
and they have gotten rid of their coach. And of course, um, we need to beat Florida. Period. Bottom line, and really also Vanderbilt. Okay, I'm not gonna beat around that bush either. Call me an old head if you want. I
Oh
don't
no, we need
care.
to beat Vanderbilt, dude.
I don't care how fun people think Vanderbilt's cute little upstart story is. You beat Vanderbilt at the University of Tennessee, and Florida. You need to get that swamp monkey off our back, and we need to beat Florida. So Austin, to kind of close out my thoughts on this section, regardless of what has gone wrong this season, these players better not quit, and these coaches better not quit and give up, and let just the rest of the season implode. They better keep playing with pride and
Agreed.
heart, and beating Florida and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the last thing I'll say is again directed at the pundits, Blake. Don't bring up how we matched the Vegas win totals. Like when Josh Pate does his little review on Tennessee this season, I don't want to hear about. It's like, well, this should have been the expectation. It's like, no, dummy. The win total went down because of the quarterback position. The quarterback position got significantly better. Okay. So if you thought our baseline was 9 to 10 wins with Nico, but we got better at quarterback, the result should have been better than 9 or 10 wins. That should have been the result. Okay. So
Exactly.
I don't want to hear, okay, oh, well, you shouldn't have expected 10 wins. It's like, well, I expected better quarterback play. You didn't. That was the difference. We got better quarterback play,
Exactly.
but it resulted in less wins, not because of the quarterback in a lot of the situations.
Exactly. Perfectly put, brother. Perfectly put. And a lot of people in chat talking about that, that they don't, they're not as hard on Joey. Yes, he's made mistakes. But as we've just talked about the past 20, 30 minutes, yes, Joey's made mistakes, but there's a lot of little mistakes and some big mistakes that have added up from across different places on this team. A lot of different blame to go around for sure. So it's time to turn the table, man. Win out
Man.
the rest of the season. Hold your head high, and let's get ready for next year and get better next year.
And could you imagine having to talk about Nico for 12 weeks? I would have
I
lost my mind,
brother,
dude.
I don't brother, I
I
don't even look.
I would have
We're
lost
already
my mind.
struggling. We talked about how we didn't want to get on and do this show, but folks, it is our solemn duty to bring you Vol Talk. Okay, we got a loyal community here. We love this community. We got to bring you Vol Talk, even though we really didn't want to talk about this loss. And Austin and I are really ticked off. The show has to go on, and so yeah, but. Man, if so we're struggling with that. Austin, we're struggling with, as I'm sure folks are noticing, I'm freezing all over the place because I'm halfway across the world. It's a difficult internet connection over here, brother. We're struggling. If you added Nico into that mix and we're dropping games left, right, and center because of Nico's dumb,
No, it would have been
because
bad.
of Nico, it would have been bad.
It
It
would have
would have been
been
bad.
it would have been really bad. Nobody would have wanted to see that. So from that aspect, thanks Aguilar for making the season at least somewhat watchable.
Exactly. All right, folks. So we've gotten the vitriol out of the way and the toxins out of the system a little bit, still coursing through my veins. But Austin, let's finally bring the good folks a good positive section.
Love it.
And look, we are currently still in everything school. And so that is good news because when we don't meet our hope and expectation in one team, we can move to the next season. And Austin, that's what we're going to be able to do because we've got basketball season coming up. We have got baseball season coming up. And brother, this basketball team is, maybe we'll start with the basketball team and then we'll talk a little briefly about baseball. But this basketball team, man, is poised to have a really great season. And when we say basketball, we're primarily talking about men's basketball, but Austin, the Lady Vols as well are
Yes.
poised to have a great season. Top 10 matchup coming up soon. Lady Vols just beat a poor team by 100 points. Absolutely mind blowing. But then again, Rick Barnes and the men's basketball as well, looking like we could have a good run.
Yes, I'm very excited about basketball season, and we definitely expect viewership to dip a little bit during basketball and baseball season. We will keep a pulse on football and all the storylines with that, but we are going to start ramping up the basketball and baseball talk because I personally love watching those sports and covering those sports, especially baseball. And yeah, and there's just not going to be as much football to talk about, so we got to ramp it up. So we're kind of dipping our toes in it right now, Blake. Basketball for the men's tips off on Monday against Mercer. We had our exhibition game against Duke. It was kind of close, but the offense kind of sputtered a little bit. I'm not going to take away too much from one exhibition, but I still have high expectations for this Tennessee men's basketball team. And then the women's, I think the sky's the limit, man. I think what Kim Caldwell is building is massive over there. They tip off in a top 10 matchup against NC State I believe on Tuesday, Blake. So a couple big basketball games coming up that we'll cover here and there. And we'll definitely ramp into basketball during SEC play once football is over. And then baseball, we had some good news in baseball too. We're bullying Florida, dude. We
Yes.
just stole
Yes.
Florida's
Talk us through
hitting
it.
coach and made him our associate head coach. So I absolutely love to see that, man. It told me two things. All right. It told me two things. One, we still own Florida. Okay. It's been a while, but
Yeah.
we own Florida. And number two is our program, or the Tennessee baseball program, is viewed now as a powerhouse blue blood of
Yes.
college baseball currently. Like Florida's a really good team, man. They've been in Omaha multiple times the last few years. They went to the College World Series final, and we literally just stole their hitting coach.
I love it, dude. Anytime we get a chance to bully and troll Florida and push them down as we climb over them, sign me up. Speaking of Florida, Austin, they are defending national champions in basketball, unfortunately. Um, and so, look, basketball as well. I want to see us mop the floor with the SEC competition. We've got one of the top prospects, and Nate.
Damn
Someone tried to correct me, and yeah, someone tried to correct the pronunciation, saying Umit or something. I don't know.
it.
I'm saying Amit. I've heard Amit. Nate Amit. Um, and so he's a great prospect. We got Gillespie is looking like he's going to be a great guy to replace Zakai, although of course we love Zakai. So man, folks need to be hyped about this basketball season. And then like you said, with Kim Caldwell, I've got these Lady Vols in the top 10 as well. And so we're going to see what they're made of. I expect Kim Caldwell to just really skyrocket in year 2 and year 3
Yep.
as we head into her second year and then on into her third year, especially with recruiting. So a lot of stuff to be excited about, man. And so if we can, continue this streak of everything school, I would absolutely love it because I hate Florida so much that I want to steal their hitting coach. I want to, beat them in basketball. I want to beat them in Microsoft Excel. I want to beat them
Everything.
in water polo,
Everything.
anything and everything.
I agree, dude. I totally agree. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it on basketball and baseball, but it's exciting times, dude. I'm ready to cover those seasons, and I'm willing to bet for the Vols fans listening that those teams will not be as inconsistent and hard to watch as the football team this year.
Indeed, indeed. Austin, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up. So Rhonda brings up a good point in the chat here. Well, someone pointed out earlier too. The news is coming out that Auburn is potentially
Yes.
expected to fire Hugh Freeze.
Yep.
So someone was talking about bringing him in to coach the defense. I don't know about all that, but yes. So Auburn's expected to fire Hugh Freeze, but then also Rhonda bringing up the point in the chat about Ruby Whitehorn on the Lady Vols has been dismissed as of it looks like while we were talking on this podcast. It was about 20 to 30 minutes ago, maybe 40 minutes ago, that Ruby was dismissed from the team. So look, I'll be honest with you. To me, I even and I don't know a ton about Ruby Whitehorn. I'm just going to be honest. However, to me, I like to see that from a coach because and Kim Caldwell, because you got to have the right culture, man. We talked about this with Josh Heupel and a culture and intangibles. You got to have the right culture. And so if someone is making mistakes off the court, if someone is not a good fit, is being toxic, whatever, you can't let that in the locker room, man. You gotta get rid of it. It's addition by subtraction.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just looked it up, and apparently it was a legal issue, second legal issue in a couple months. So yeah, I totally agree. I mean, unlike Georgia, we have a moral standard here at Tennessee. It's not just you can play, so you can get you doesn't matter if you get in trouble, like whatever. We'll just sweep it under the rug. We'll hide it from NFL scouts and NFL teams and whatever. Like, we don't do that here. We have a different standard of morality. So yeah, it makes total sense. If someone can't stay out of trouble, then they can't play here. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, folks, man, it has been a packed episode. It's funny, Austin. It always ends up being the losses that gets us the most fired up.
I know.
We got a lot to say, folks. But please, folks, do me a favor. I dropped a poll in the chat. Let us know. We love to get a kind of a gauge of how y'all are feeling for these seasons coming up. We know that football obviously is far and away folks' biggest interest. It's our biggest interest as well. But man, we love all things volunteer sports on the Vol Talk podcast. And so we will be covering basketball season. We will be covering baseball season. Austin will kind of start to cover basketball, kind of tangentially as we're finishing out football season. We'll cover basketball a little bit as well. And then we'll transition fully into basketball And then kind of same deal with baseball season. We'll kind of be tacking baseball in, as we're covering basketball before we transition fully to baseball season. So we are going to be covering, folks. This is year round. We talk all things volunteer sports. So we hope that you guys will join us for that. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. If you're listening on Spotify, follow us on Spotify. We would really appreciate that, and we look forward to. Again, we're still going to be covering football season. Hear me out on that. We're going to be covering football season, but we just want to go ahead and get you guys excited for the upcoming seasons with basketball and baseball. So please, again, let me know what you think in the poll there in the chat. If you're listening after the fact, folks, drop us a comment and let us know what your opinion is on this 2025 football season. We talked a lot about what went wrong. And we just got to address and be honest about what did go wrong. So let us know your thoughts in the comments on what went wrong this season and what you want to see improve heading into next football season, and also the rest of this year in these final remaining games. So final admin note, Austin. So we've got a bye week this week.
We do.
So talk us through because I'm sure I'm freezing, so I want to pass it over to you. Talk us through the schedule for the next couple of weeks with the bye week.
We will likely take this week off. Likely this Tuesday and Sunday show probably won't happen. We'll see. Blake will not be available for the next 2 Tuesday shows. Am I getting that right, Blake? You won't be available for the next 2. So I will likely have Dakota on here for the New Mexico State preview. That will be next Tuesday, however. It will not be this Tuesday. It'll be the following Tuesday. And this Tuesday, I don't know. I'm not sure what we'll do. We may cover maybe on Wednesday. Dakota and I will get on here and cover a little bit of basketball, maybe do a quick season preview or something like that. We'll see. We'll definitely have some clips from this show. We've got probably a few clips from this show that will trickle out this week. But we will definitely be back for the New Mexico State preview next Tuesday. And then, of course, regular scheduled program, previews, reviews. We'll cover the basketball teams in the gaps or whatever during the football shows until football season is over.
Yep. So, folks, stay tuned for that stuff. We're going to continue to bring you Vol Talk content, as Austin just mentioned there. Unfortunately, I will be unavailable next week, but we will still bring y'all content. So we'll be off for the bye week, but we will bring you the New Mexico review. And then, as Austin said, we'll bring you some content about basketball kind of season review or, clips from this episode. So stay tuned for all of that. But folks, we'll look to get back to the win column with the New Mexico State game coming up after our bye week. So again, we will catch you on the other side of our bye week. But until then, folks, as always, no matter what, go freaking Vols.
GBO.